So April is a big month for me. April marks 2 years of me living in my van full time. This van, this little minivan, 2 years. So as the anniversary approached, I was thinking two things. The first was, this is a big deal. And the second was, this is really not a big deal. But that probably needs some explanation, doesn't it? So my first reaction, in that it is a big deal that I've made it to a 2-year anniversary, is I think quite easy to explain for several reasons. Not the least of which is the fact that I am, let's face it, middle-aged, and I don't seem to be getting any younger. Now, over the last several years, I have become accustomed to a certain level of comfort that I wasn't sure the van would bring me. So it's a big deal that I've been comfortable for the last 2 years in the van. And not just any van, I've been comfortable in a minivan. That's another thing, is that I've never been a minimalist, and I've never wanted to be a minimalist, but I have had to accept being a minimalist living in a minivan. And that was another question of mine. Was I going to be able to be a minimalist and be happy and comfortable? So those are two of the big things that I probably talked a little bit on the channel, maybe more than a little bit. One of the other things that I maybe haven't talked about is the fact that it was a wonder that I was able to afford the van in the first place. You know, one of the reasons that brought me to Vanlife was just the fact that I was barely scraping by. So the fact that I was able to get enough money together to buy a van in the first place was a monumental task. And then you add to that that I bought a van that I was going to have to build out myself. And I'm not particularly a bright person. I'm not particularly skilled at anything. And yet I was able to put the van together, work out all the things that needed to be worked out, the bed assembly, the kitchen, fitting it all in place, and then working on the solar electric. You know, these are all things that are outside of my skill set, although I probably should say that I don't really have a skill set. But with the help of friends and with the help of YouTube, I was able to put together a van that has not only held together well and covered all of my needs, but also has kept me comfortable all this time. Those are some pretty big deals. Those are some pretty big things that I have been able to overcome and to answer. So it is a big deal that I've made it to 2 years. Now, trying to explain my second reaction, that it's really not that big of a deal that I have made it to 2 years, my 2-year anniversary, living in my van, my minivan. Yeah, that's a little harder to explain. No, I've been trying to think of a way to convey my thoughts on this and to explain this in an understandable way. And then it just kind of occurred to me that I haven't been making videos for the past 3 weeks. And there's a bit of a correlation between that and the reason why I'm saying that it's really no big deal that I've been living in my van for 2 years. Now, in order for me to get my point across, I think maybe I can show you what I've been up to over the last 3 to 4 weeks. I stopped at the border to Washington as I was leaving Portland, and just to make a little bit of lunch. And when I went to start the van back up, I wouldn't start. So I gave myself a jump off of my house batteries, which I don't like to do, especially on a rainy day like this. And I made some calls, and that brought me here to Napa. Now, Napa's not usually my first choice in auto parts because they are rather expensive. But I figured, one, they had the battery in stock. The other places I called didn't. And two, they actually weren't as expensive as the other places, believe it or not. So they tested my old battery. It was bad, as I suspected. So I got out here and replaced the battery in the rain without the proper tools. Yeah, fun. I need to buy some tools. Yes. So what did I mean by saying that me living in a van for 2 years is no big deal? And why did I show you all those little clips of basically kind of mundane day-to-day life stuff? Well, maybe some of you have already caught up to where I'm headed with this, but I'm just living life. You know, van life for me now is my normal. And I think that that's why it's a little bit hard for me to look at my anniversary here in the van. 2 years, I think is nothing to sneeze at, but it's hard for me to say I should celebrate it because this is my normal. Van life is now my normal. What I've been noticing these last few months is wherever I am, whether it's in Seattle or if I'm in Portland, Oregon, or if I'm in Port Townsend, I'm just at home. You know, wherever I am, I'm at home. You know, that was something that I really tried to work at when I first moved into my van. You know, the first few weeks when you move into your van, you leave work, you get out to the car park and you say, where am I supposed to go, right? Something feels odd, right? When you had a house or an apartment, you left work, you went home. Or you did some errands and you went home. When you have a van, and your van is your house, there is that little bit of time where things are not quite normal. But then, of course, you hope that you're going to get used to it and you're going to find that your life just kind of gels around the fact that you are living in a van. So I've said it before, and I'll just say it again in this video. I can't imagine ever living any other way. It is a little difficult for me to think about celebrating something that is so normal now. Maybe that's a weird concept, and maybe you'd have to walk a mile in my shoes in order to understand what I'm saying. I hope I'm getting my point across. I'm not quite sure I understand it either. You know, when I think about those years ago when I owned a house, and back when I rented an apartment, back when I had roommates, you know, I just can't really even imagine doing any of that ever again. I think that that's the biggest testament to just how well I've taken to van life. You know, living in a van is just life. It can be a normal life. It can be an exciting life where you're traveling all the time. But the way I'm doing it, being static most of the time, it's just a normal life that allows me quite a bit of time to kind of decompress from my job and put myself where I want to be, when I want to be there, feed myself good food, and be able to drive off 150 or 200 miles to see a friend if I want to for a weekend, and even every weekend if I wanted to. So van life, for me, is just life, and it's a good life. You know, there are some hardships, but as time goes on, I feel fewer and fewer of them. So I'm feeling pretty good at 2 years in. And I really want to thank all of you that are watching me here. You know, there's been a few things on my mind. I've been wanting to do more videos, and that just never really seems to pan out. I've had an idea about how to answer some more of your questions, because really that's why I do this. It's a hobby that I hope helps other people. You know, I learned how to build my van and how to live in my van from watching YouTube mostly. So this is a way for me to kind of give back. But my job, because I'm working a regular job, doesn't allow me a whole lot of time to do videos. So I had an idea. It's one that I've been kicking around for a while, and that is, I've been thinking about doing a question and answer video. Now I haven't been, you know, I've been kind of on the fence about doing a question and answer video because, one, I just don't think there's going to be enough questions for me to answer, but I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. Now, if there aren't enough questions, I will try to answer them as I go in different videos going forward. It should be easier for me to make videos now since the days are getting longer. But I'm open to trying the Q&A. So if you've got some questions that you'd like me to answer, leave them in the comment section below, and if there are enough of them, I'll do a Q&A. If there are too many of them, and there keep being too many of them, I can actually make it a weekly thing where probably during the week, you know, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, I would have a dedicated video day to answer viewer questions. So something I'm kicking around the idea with. Now, the other reason I haven't brought up doing a Q&A before is there are probably some questions that I don't want to answer. Two of those, as you can imagine, are politics and religion. Don't really think that they have any part in my YouTube channel. You know, I'd be happy to talk about them off of the channel, but I certainly don't want to talk about them on the channel. There are probably some other questions that I probably wouldn't want to answer. I can't think of any now, but I just want to put that out there, that there might be some questions that I don't really care to answer if they are not quite along the lines of van life. So there's that. If there's a question that I really don't want to answer, I may not answer it. I may just skip it and ignore it. But open it up and I will answer any that I feel that I can. Now, to all of you that have been sending me emails and private messages and comments, I've been having a little bit of trouble keeping up with those. So if I have missed some, I really apologize. Here's your chance to drop a question or a comment in, and I will get back to you hopefully here on YouTube. So that's that. We'll give it a try. And as always, I really thank everybody for watching. I thank everybody for the likes that they give. I thank everybody for the comments and the questions. It's really you that keeps me doing this. It's a hobby I enjoy, but it's difficult and it takes time. So if I didn't have that interaction with all of you, I probably wouldn't keep making videos. So thank you to all of you that keep the channel going.